Welcome patrons. Today's Nations of Thedas video is going to break format a bit. The Free Marches are unique in Thedas, as instead of one unified nation, it's a collection of city-states that have promised to band together in times of strife. As such, each city-state is just a little bit different from the others. We've gone over two of the most important ones, Kirkwall and Starkhaven, but it's now time to talk about the smaller ones. The ones where sometimes all we know about it is just a small line of dialogue, sometimes all we know is just the name. So with that in mind, let's talk first about the Free Marches as a whole, and then we'll just shotgun all the individual city-states and pretty much all we know about them. History. Originally, the area that would become the Free Marches were settled by a human tribe called the Palicene, but their villages would soon be taken over by the Tevinters, who started most of the city-states in the Free Marches. When Andraste finally took her army against Tevinter, they would free much of the area that would be the Free Marches, minus the one that would one day be Kirkwall. And then, after Andraste's death, Mafra's middle child, Evrion, was given the area that would be the Free Marches to rule. Evrion was considered the most pious of his children, and his rule is remembered as focusing on spreading the word of Andraste rather than gaining power. When it was eventually found out that his own father had betrayed Andraste, he publicly disowned him and gave up his lands to the people that he ruled. We aren't sure what happens to him after that. And we don't really know exactly when the name Free Marches was given to the area, but it's likely that it was around this time, as many claim that Evrion giving the power to his people was the catalyst to the structure of the Free Marches we know today. We then jump to 195 Divine, where the Second Blight was ended in Starkhaven. Not long after that, in 215 Glory, Starkhaven's King Phyrus rose up and attacked other Free Marcher cities in an attempt backed by Tevinter to unite the area. All of his attempts would eventually fail and would end with Tevinter taking Starkhaven and then an Exalted march to free it. In 512 Exalted, the Fourth Blight would touch Wycombe and Kirkwall, and both cities were eventually evacuated by the Grey Wardens to safety. The Fourth Blight in general would be one of the few times the Free Marches became united against a common cause. In 537 Exalted, Tylus Van Markham of Navarra would gather enough support and power to separate the city-state of Navarra from the Free Marches into its own nation that we know today. In 728 Storm, a high dragon rampaged much of the northern Free Marches. This dragon was followed by a cult who claimed that its name was Urzara, and that it was the child of the old god Urthemiel. The cult believed that the dragon would claim the Maker's throne in the Fade and would burn down villages and chantries in the dragon's wake. Eventually, the Free Marches gathered together to defeat the dragon and her cult. Those who survived would drown themselves in the Meander River, while the leader of the cult was captured and publicly killed in Tantervale. In 756 Storm, the QUNARI would land in the Free Marches, attacking Ostwick, Starkhaven, and Kirkwall. All but Kirkwall ended the attempt, and Kirkwall would be controlled by the QUNARI for around 4 years before being freed by an Orlesian Chevalier. The city would then be claimed by Orlais until 805 Blessed, when the city-state rebelled and gained its independence. And then, finally, in 882 Blessed, Navarra begins to get just a little bit too cocky after its war with Orlais and begins to try and take over the Free Marches. The attempt is eventually stopped by a man named Cade Arvale, who would be named Champion of Tantervale for this. Geography. We don't have too much here. The Free Marches are considered the breadbasket of Thedas, mostly because of the Meander River running completely through it. Another important landmark is the Vimmark Mountains. As for the known city-states, I'll go over those in just a bit. Politics. It's kind of hard to go over this, as each city-state has its own rules and regulations, but it seems that each city-state has its own name for its ruler, perhaps in an attempt to gain a unique identity from one another. But one thing we can talk about is how the city-states get along. For the most part, all city-states have a working relationship, and at the moment none are attacking the others. But that doesn't mean they all get along. Many have petty squabbles from time to time that is largely ignored by the others because of other petty squabbles. While the city-states have been known to gather together in times of strife for the good of the area, this is the exception rather than the rule. As for specifics on how the city-states interact, we really don't have much because they don't tell us anything. I'm sure there are some really interesting politics in the Free Marches, but we just don't know it. The only thing I can say for certain is that the city-state of Starkhaven sees itself as the ruler, and the others don't really like that much. Culture. Because of the nature of the Free Marches and its position in Thedas, it's known as being very culturally diverse, with people coming from all across known Thedas, and many native marchers actually had parents that were born in other nations. Because most of the Free Marches have history with Tevinter, many city-states still have buildings and other architecture that are echoes from that time, with tall towers and white stone everywhere. One thing that is certain, though, is that people from all over the Free Marches don't consider themselves a marcher first. They hold their allegiances to the native city-states first and foremost. A popular event that is considered a very free marcher tradition is the Grand Tourney. People from all over Thedas gather in this festival to try and compete in games of battle. The winner is given a crown of sage leaves and a blade known as the Celebrant, on which is inscribed all of the names of the past winners of the tourney. The Grand Tourney is one of the few times that the entire free marches will put aside their differences for peace, although that doesn't mean the Grand Tourney is always hosted in the free marches. Another common aspect among the free marches is the use of champions. The title is only given by the leader of the city-state and is reserved for those who have proven their dedication to the city-state. The title isn't always a positive one and can be used for those who are greatly feared or loved by the city. Religion. As the area was once home to the pious Evrion, most of the city-states are devoted to the chantry with varying degrees of piety. Dress. As the free marches are considered a large melting pot of cultures, the dress seems to be as such as well. City-states closer to other nations will probably have similar clothing to those neighboring nations. Food. In some parts of the free marches, jelly meats are considered a delicacy, most notably in Ansburg, but Starkhaven is considered the crown jewel of free marcher cuisine. Relationship with other races. Elves. Dalish elves in the free marches have a unique strategy for avoiding humans compared to others of their kind elsewhere. Due to the tension between city-states, the Dalish float in between their borders, knowing that city-states bringing armed forces near another border could trigger something bigger than what they actually want. So the Dalish presence is often tolerated for some time in the in-between of the free marches. Dwarves. Not much is said about the dwarves in the free marches. As the area is largely devoted to the chantry, one would think they have a decent relationship due to the needed lyrium trade. QUNARI. As the QUNARI attacked and even controlled parts of the free marches in the past, it seems much of the area does not look very kindly towards the QUNARI. The city-states. Now it's time to go over the known city-states. Now even if I was doing spoilers, for most of these, what I say here is pretty much all that we know about them, minus Starkhaven and Kirkwall, which have their own videos that I've done, and I've linked those in the description box down below. Ansburg. While it's known for its large agricultural trade, it's often called backwater by other city-states. The leader of Ansburg uses the title of Margrave, and the city holds a circle of magi. Hazmal. As it's close to Deventer, the city-state is known to be filled with escaped slaves and refugees from the area. It also does hold a circle of magi. Hambleton. It exists. That's what we have on it. Hercynia. While described as being lovely, it has a very high tax rate and is often attacked by raiders. Caton. Just like Hambleton, all we have on this is the name. Kirkwall. The major trade hub for the free marches due to its position on the coast and also a bit of a shithole. Leader of Kirkwall uses the title of Viscount and the city holds a circle of magi. Markham. Also considered to have a large agricultural trade, but this one has a university that is the center for agricultural research, so it's a little bit more refined than Ansburg. The city also holds a circle of magi. Ostwick. After the QUNARI invasion some years ago, the city-state now offers a very large double wall for protection. The leader of Ostwick uses the title of Tarn, and the city holds a circle of magi. Starkhaven. The largest and richest city-state in the marches. It has close ties with the chantry and is said to have wonderful food, also as being pretentious. The leader of Starkhaven uses the title of Prince, and the city holds a circle of magi. Tantervale. Described as being way too religious and overeager with chantry law. In Simple Thief, you get a very harsh sentence here, where elsewhere would just get a simple warning. The leader of Tanterville uses the title of Lord Chancellor. And finally, Wycombe. Known as the second largest importer of Antivan wine and is considered the most free of the free marches, and I still have no idea what that means. The leader of Wycombe uses the title of Duke. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know of the free marches. Do you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at @Gildathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. The rest are all.